Welcome back to Survived by Loss, a podcast providing a voice in the dark where we hear stories about erasing the gray and ending cycles. I'm Haley, and I will be your host. If you made it through the trailer, you will know from now on this podcast will be one giant trigger warning. Before we dive into today's episode, I would like to say the following content may contain sensitive topics or discussions that could potentially evoke strong emotional responses or discomfort. I encourage you to prioritize your mental health and proceed with caution. If you find yourself feeling distressed at any time, please remember that it's okay to pause or stop listening. Your well being is incredibly important to me. Remember, you're not alone and support is available. We will talk about loss and every single kind. You will hear my personal stories as well as people that I know and love, and hopefully one day this will inspire you to talk about something you have lost with all of us. My goal is for this to be a safe space to share, a place to let go, to find people to add to your list so you know you're not alone in your time of healing. Hello, my sweet baby angels. I'm so excited to be back here with you all. As always, it is 2 days before this is coming out, and actually it's the night of, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out where the time has gone. I really have faith that one day the timing will all come together, so I'm not here creating my best work the night before. Although, I feel like some of my best thoughts come last minute. We've been chugging along, and here we are at number 7. So, why not do a quick little recap of the episodes prior? Growing up with grief was a deeper dive into heartache that was the loss of my brother and how it turned my world upside down. It was an episode filled with tears and tough moments, but we got to face them head on. This episode was a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is a glimmer of hope. Which leads us to episode 2, where I welcome my sweet mom to share her personal story surrounding some pretty detrimental loss. Through her storytelling, we gain insight into the challenges and emotions she's faced. This episode was a very, 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 very brief summary of just a small percentage of the heartbreak she's lived through. On to episode 3. This episode was and always will be one of a kind. My best friend decided to be beyond brave. She shared the new challenges she's facing with the recent loss of her 12-year-old son to suicide just 5 days prior. Chanel gives us insight on the highs, the lows, and the numb moments, and everything in between. We learn about the power of love, friendship, and finding light in the darkest of times. I'm looking forward to spending some more time with her here for you guys. That brings us to a letter to myself. I feel like a letter is going to be a theme today. When writing this one, I was in a moment of turmoil. I was struggling at work, struggling at home, struggling in general, and I needed to take a moment of self-reflection. In this letter to my past, present, and future self, I gave myself the opportunity to implement the importance of being kind, to be patient and courageous, as this is a time of growth and healing like no other. Telling myself that there's an exciting journey of self-discovery ahead. Oh man. Then, freaking number 5 went from wanting to brag about my sweet little ball of love to crying and reading the one and only obituary that I have ever written. I really was hoping that I could have had a more positive episode, but I've noticed that I tend to talk about what my heart is truly needing in that moment. This heavy episode did lead to a good one with my angel of a mom. This episode, which was officially number 6, was centered around the times before me, what life was like in the beginning years of her relationship, the forgetful mention of her wedding, moving, financial trials, and everything in between. And where does that get us? To today, 2 days before Father's Day, and honestly, I'm a lot more sad than I thought I would be. In a lot of ways, having so long to process my brother's passing is a blessing. It doesn't hurt as bad as often as it used to. There's triggers like certain songs, movies, TV shows, phrases, cars, colors, foods, animals, and so much more than that. And in an instant will bring me back to a memory of Jason. Good, bad, happy, sad. However, after 16 plus years, a lot has been forgotten. You can't see it, but I had air quotes. I can clearly hear things he would say in my head, but they're no longer in his voice, they're mine. I can picture him sitting out at the sand dunes, what he's wearing, how strong the wind was, how many individual grains of pink sand were between my toes. But for the life of me, I can't seem to unmute the video of him laughing that plays in my head so I can hear him. I'd say I went through the stages of grief with him more times than I know, but it's nothing like what I have felt with my dad. I can't decide if it's timing because it's still so new, if it was the trauma of how it happened. Was it because with Jason I was so young? Was it because I had my mom there with me and she was figuring it out with my dad before I did? Was it because he wasn't in our childhood home because I was young and didn't understand what it really meant long term? Could have been because I only had 14 years with him and all I can truly remember are just over half of them. I'm not really sure just yet, to be honest. However, I'm sure in the span of this podcast, I will figure some things out I probably wouldn't have otherwise. It is so interesting. Life. I've been thinking about my dad a lot, and I'm sure a lot of it is some things that have been happening at work and life in general, really. I will say one stage I never really go through is denial. I think it's because I've lost so many important people too many times that I never expect them to come back. I just know that they're gone and I need to move forward. With my dad's passing lately, I've been stuck in the guilt and anger phase, and surprisingly, they go hand in hand. For some context, I've been having a really hard time with fireworks, like bad. A few years ago, my friend Kendra convinced me to go to a country music festival in Las Vegas. There was just a couple artists that I knew, and really it was just nice to be out in a big crowd of people and listening to good music. Eating funnel cake with my best friend, trying a deep fried Oreo for the first time, with a beer in my hand, and meeting all sorts of new people. That night, we had seen all of the artists that we knew. We were having so much fun, my friend and I decided to stay and listen to Jason Aldean. However, me being me, I got this weird gut feeling and told my friend I thought I wanted to stay, but I changed my mind and was ready to go because I was exhausted. Fluffy Haley, standing for hours and hours in the heat on asphalt was not a good mix. She didn't fight me on it at all, leaving actually, which was very surprising because we were 100% in her element. But it was good. We said bye to our new friends and off we went. Where we were was about halfway back from the front of the stage and in the middle of the crowd. We worked our way through the maze of the venue and crowd and began skipping to my little car parked just a couple blocks away. We crossed the street and got just past the edge of the Mandalay Bay when we started hearing what sounded like a mix of fireworks and a helicopter that was flying right over our heads. In the moment, we were far enough away to not hear people, but close enough to have just been out of sight of where the shooter and his line of fire was. We didn't even realize how lucky or close we got to a potential deadly situation until we were home about 10 minutes later and started seeing things all over social media. A lot of people were injured and quite a few lost their lives. To say I had a little survivor's guilt is an understatement. This is also a time I was struggling really bad with my mental health, and that did not help one bit. Because we weren't in the middle of it, I really just pushed it out and never dealt with what trauma that had brought. The next day, I was working on the strip at my convention job and thought nothing of it. I didn't really have time to process. I think I was around 21, 22. I was young. I got to go home and live my life, and so many other people were not as lucky. That really brings us to the night my dad passed. Now, keep in mind, after that night at the music festival, I would go shooting with my dad and friends, and that was okay. Nothing compared to the sounds that I heard that night. Some fireworks here and there at a certain speed and tone, for lack of better words, kind of bugged me, but nothing in comparison to how I am now. The night my dad passed, as I mentioned in the past, I was in my bed. It was 2:35 a.m. and I heard what sounded like something huge falling and hitting the wall from his dresser, as it was the same wall my head touched. It scared me so bad, to the point I was literally frozen. Could not move. I had an entire conversation in my head because I had no clue what was happening. All I knew is the moment I realized what that noise actually was, that it was going to be something that was going to stick for a long time. Ever since then, I have been extra sensitive. 4th of July, I will literally take NyQuil and try to fall asleep before dark. Oh my gosh. And the other morning, it was like 4:10 a.m. I was taking Lux out to the park before I needed to go to work, like always. And we're sitting there in the dark. Lux was being Lux and searching for rubber bits on the rocks to eat. Why? Because she's wild. And out of nowhere, I hear a boom. Then a couple seconds later, I hear another boom. And I was like, what the heck? It was so incredibly loud. Lux was freaking out and started looking and barking at the fence behind me where it's pitch black and so dark. And again, like the night my dad made his choice, I froze. I couldn't tell if I was about to throw up, if I was breathing, or I needed to remind my body to. I wasn't sure if I was shot and somebody was going to take my keys. I had a brief flash of the country music festival and felt like I was back in my bed at 2:36 a.m. just a couple years earlier. I was terrified and I could not move from the bench I was sitting on, even to check my surroundings. Like as soon as I can move again, I texted the girls at my work and was like, hey, did we have to put a deer down or a raccoon like just a few minutes ago? Are there any reports of gunshots? I was frantic and really just trying my best to get my tears under control. It was just wild, especially going into work 40 minutes later, having to be my best, and my literal first call of the day at 5 a.m. being a CPR call where I had to give instructions, which I don't get very often. It was just a day. The other night, we had a city fest. It's like, for example, Henderson Fest. Booths with crafts, lots of yummy homemade food, a parade, the whole shebang. Parks of Utah, always doing something for the community. And I knew at like 9:30, 10-ish, there were probably going to be some fireworks, and I needed to be asleep before they started, or I wasn't going to sleep. Of course, as we all know, the anxiety kept me up. So here I am at 10 p.m. with my bedroom TV on level 45 when it's usually on 15 or 20, with a dark screen YouTube video playing, a loud thunder and rainstorm. And it wasn't enough. I could totally still hear it. So I tried to put on my AirPod Max headphones, and of course they were dead. And I'm left there, laying on my bed, headphones plugged into the wall, charging while on my head, just waiting for them to be over. I am just a mess in so many ways, but that's the path I was given, and if I made it this far, I know I can make it through these smaller moments. This seems like a tangent. I know, and it kind of was, but I swear it was going somewhere 15 minutes ago. Something about guilt, something about anger, a brief mention of Father's Day. Man, leave it to me, stuck in this freaking moment, not sure where to go. Then I remember I'm angry. And I'm trying not to be, but I am. I'm mad at my dad. I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. I'm sad. My heart hurts. And I wish he was in front of me for an hour so I could get some things off my chest. That's the funny thing about losing people, though. You wish things could be different, but they can never be changed. And here we are right now. So I'm going to get whatever off my chest and out into the universe. Dear Robert, I hope this letter finds you well, for the most part. First of all, happy almost Father's Day. It's crazy to think from now on until the end of my life, Jason will get to spend more Father Days with you than you ever gave me the chance to. To sit here and think about who you get to be around and who you get to see, talk to, love, surround yourself with. I can't help but be angry at you, maybe a little jealous even. If I'm being completely honest, so many seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, years, forever with the people I chose to live through the hurt for every single day. You get to be with them, spending the missed time with your brothers, hopefully healing the hurt your dad put you through when he did to you what you did to me. I hope you tell your dad how bad he hurt you, how heartbroken you were that he had the choice to live and be on earth with you, to watch you become a man, to be around to see you graduate high school or get married, maybe even make it to meet your son, instead choosing to kill himself. And not just the act of choosing out, but dare say you not needing him anymore was a burden you deserved to carry for all of these years. I hope you tell him how it broke you in ways that you could never verbalize or heal from. How you spent 40 years stuffing the feeling so far down you thought you got rid of it, only for them to creep up and hurt your heart enough to make the decision you did so many years later. How he left you with your mom far too many years alone, a woman who was incapable of showing you love, who was mentally, emotionally, financially abusive, who taught you that love was conditional based on what you could give her when she needed the material things. How he left you with a parent that could never show you support, but was so happy to talk about how amazing you were to anybody but you. A parent who also went through what he put you through. A mom whose mom chose to end her life over loving her. How could she ever heal and be enough for what you guys deserved? He left you with a parent that did or would have lost a son suddenly. Did he not think about what life would be without him? What ripple effect this would have? The deep scars this leaves on a kid's heart? Didn't he know you did need him forever? That having a dad is one of the most special things in the world? That you weren't done learning? That you weren't done smiling? That you weren't even a real adult and too young to lose such a giant piece of your heart that could never be filled the same way ever again? No matter what you tried to do to ease the pain, did you think it was your fault when he said he did it because you didn't need him anymore? How long did you hold on to that blame? Did you feel guilty forever? Did it ever get better? I hope it did, for your sake, because I'm 16 years into being blamed for Jason's death, and most times it stings just as bad as the day you looked me in the eyes and told me something similar for the first time. Maybe a note would have been less harsh, one like he left you. Did you question every day why he left you? Did it make you feel so small when you heard a song, smelled something familiar, saw a picture he took, rode a motorcycle like he taught you, or when you would take Jay and I shooting when we were little and remember he chose out? I wish more than anything I knew what that felt like for you, because I'm here where you left me, hoping it didn't feel anything like what I feel, but also hoping it was worse at the same time. Because how could you leave me? How could you have felt this hurt? The fluttering in your heart, the random breaking down and feeling what it felt like to remember he was gone for the first time, the fear of falling asleep, and anxiety of waking up because you're scared of hearing someone else you loved past. How could you feel this fear, this ever burning feeling that you weren't and never would have been enough for somebody who was supposed to love you without conditions? How for the rest of your life you question your worth, your ability to love, and if you even deserve to be loved, because the man in your life couldn't have possibly loved you like you thought he did, because it was his choice to leave. How many times did you feel that? Did you feel that when you pushed your family away? Did you feel that when you got angry and at us and lashed out? Did you remember what it felt like when you talked to us for 5 hours and then would get mad when we ran out of tears? Or we were afraid to talk on hour 4 because we didn't want to say the wrong thing to keep the conversation going. Though you reminded us that we stopped listening and caring the first 10 minutes, but felt like 4 hours and 50 more minutes might finally be the right amount of time for us to finally get it. I hope you tell him that moment changed your life forever. I hope you look him in the eyes and are honest with him. I hope you can hug him and for 1 second he could feel what it felt like to hurt you. The magnitude of that decision and how it altered your life and everyone who met you after that. I hope you know this is where the guilt sets in for me, sitting here, after reading this 10 times and thinking about my own head. The battles I fought in my life, not remembering how my life was so similar to yours in so many ways. except I lost the only brother I will have had. And not to a home robbery gone wrong, but my loss starting with someone choosing to end their life. Someone who had a choice to leave me and didn't just walk away for a time being, but made the ultimate choice of never coming back. Aren't your siblings supposed to stay and stick it through so you have someone who understands what the rage of their wounded father feels like? To remind me that I'm not crazy, that what I'm feeling, maybe he's feeling too, that I don't need to be quiet because I'm afraid, that it's okay to be sad, to act out, to test boundaries, even make mistakes and learn from them. That because he did what he did, I would have to grow up way too quick. It was never my job to worry about you and Mom. I needed him to remind me that I was the kid and not the rock of the house, that I shouldn't be suffering in silence like I was, that what I was feeling in my head, that dark, scary feeling, was something that needed to be addressed, that it was a mental illness that deserved light to be shed on it, that these battles, big and small, that were won multiple times a day, are bigger wins than I could have ever comprehended in the years to come. That losing Jason was just the beginning, that I would lose myself over and over and over and over. I'm angry. I am hurt. I am broken more days than I am not. I will always wonder if I should have or could have done more to save you. I question my worth often, and I'm terrified in the deepest parts of me that I'll never be able to believe that there was an ounce of self-worth in me. I worry that I'll be incapable of allowing someone to love me the way I deserve, the way I've always needed, the way I've always wanted. How do I move forward? How do I let go? How do I convince 27-year-old me that waking up to a note that you killed yourself and I was meant to find you was the love I deserved, the life I deserved for every single moment moving forward? I'm mad you get to be with Pat, Dave, Diane. You get Tina. You probably even get to see Maki. I bet she even made you one of her famous Maki blankets. Honestly, I hope Grandpa Carl is giving you hell and overloading your brain with train information you didn't ask for. I hope your mom finds you and you figure out how to heal the part of you that she destroyed. I hope she can finally understand how our actions forever altered our family. I hope Jason is there and he tells you all the ways you hurt him or all the times he needed you to love him, support him, make him feel safe and loved. I hope you can find the parts of you that he had and help him realize it wasn't just him. That with the troubles, the acting out, doing things he didn't need to feel something he was missing, the dark nights and the anger-filled days weren't his fault. I hope one day you can look at him and realize he was your chance to break the Sylvester cycle. That you had the opportunity to be everything he needed to thrive in life. That only you could ever truly understand the trials that flooded his heart and brain. That at the end of the day, he needed his dad to be a dad, to love with all of his faults. I hope Jason lets go of his anger. I hope that he can find peace in his new future with you. I really hope he can show you what he needed, what our family's life could have been. I really hope your sisters find you. I hope they pour everything they have into your cup and it never stops overflowing. I hope they keep doing it for as long as they can. And I hope that they love you until you realize you deserve it and for every single day after that, for infinity times infinity. I hope there are days everyone surrounds you and reminds you that all the things you doubted or second guessed was a lie, that you deserved everything good in life. I need you to know I wasn't ready for you to go. I wasn't ready to give up the days we would sing while laying on the couch. I wasn't ready to stop smiling, to never see you trying to not smile when you thought I was actually being funny for once. I wasn't ready for the art to stop, for the music to fade, or for the life lessons to end when you took your life, for the hugs to be no more, for the chances to heal our past so we could grow and find friendship to end, to keep moving forward and have the relationship we always knew we could. I spent years and years and years and years living for somebody else, for everyone else, especially you and Mom. living for literally anyone other than myself because I knew if I tried to do it for me, it wouldn't last long. I was living through the heartbreak, living through the mental battles, the dark nights, heavy days, the questioning, the reminders, the playbacks of things said to me out of anger, hurt, disappointment, things that came from a parent who had equally broken parents, from a man who needed to be raised with love, a man who had to save himself and decided that doing it for himself was too hard at even 19, that maybe jumping off the Hoover Dam at Lake Mead was the right choice. Maybe to just end it there because it's easier to end it and cause the hurt than be hurt over and over again for years to come. It sounds familiar, like something I've heard whispered in my ear by my own self. But it took a man seeing you that day, truly seeing you, to step down, right? Then you turned to saving others, and a full career that revolved around saving anyone but yourself. Because let's face it, saving yourself was too hard, wasn't it? I freaking get it. You deserved so much more, not just from the people around you, but mostly from yourself. And you know who else deserved it? Me, Mom, Jay. In the moments when you weren't hurting, you were always enough. Even in the times when you were and you thought you weren't, you always were. You deserved all the love imaginable, even if you didn't get it when you were young. You were always worthy of love. You deserved the good things, and the bad didn't need to always be the main focus. Pull yourself together. You're so ungrateful. What's really so bad that your life is so hard? You're never happy, are you? Nothing's good enough for you, is it? Some people have it worse. Make a gratitude list. Weren't you sad yesterday too? Have you had any water? Have you tried smiling? I read an article that said you could choose your feelings. Have you tried journaling? Have you tried going outside? Have you tried anything? Are you even trying? Were these things told to you too? Dad, as I've gotten older, I see the things you sacrificed and how much you gave. I want you to know I don't take the hurt personally. Hurt people, and oftentimes it's the ones they love the most because they are a safe place. That is what I needed in you. It's what our family needed in you. So, I want you to know, even through the hurt, the questioning, healing, and doing everything I can for myself to rewire the lies I've been fed for so long, along with the thought processes, I'm grateful that you gave everything you had, even when you had nothing left to give. I need you to know I am thankful for everything you did for me. I want you to know I owe it to you in so many ways for me being the fighter I am today. At the end of the day, I'm proud of you for being ready to end it all so many times and staying as long as you did. And in my heart, I know your choice wasn't supposed to alter my life as much as it has. That your past was all you could know, the example that was set and the blueprints in which you built your life off of. I know your inner child needed to be pulled out of the dark place where he hid, just like mine. That in a perfect world, they'd be outside, their happy 6-year-old selves, running in the sun, carefree, eating popsicles, only ever knowing that the scariest thing they will ever have to endure in their life was that the floor was imagined to be lava. I hope one day we can both go back and our present selves can hug them with the Disney rule and not let go until they do. I hope you heal. I hope you help heal the ones around you. I hope this poem comes true in our future, Dad. By Nikita Gill. In another universe, I met my father when he was a child. We play catch in the woods, and as we play, he tells me he isn't allowed to cry. But sometimes the world hurts him, and he doesn't know what to do with all that pain. So I give him the shoulder he needs to cry on, and he does. He does until the tears are done. Afterwards, I buy him an ice cream and listen to his laugh. The glowing, warm laugh of a child who knows he's safe. I wish someone could have done that for him, been a kind, safe place for the child he used to be. Would it have made a difference? With all the love you deserve, you're angry, empathy-filled daughter. Mental health is unruly and an ever-changing beast that is so different for every single person. Triggers are different, past experiences, traumas, they are all so different. Even if they go through the same exact thing, the way it changes your brain chemistry will always be different. If you've never experienced suicidal thinking, the idea of wanting to end your life seems extreme. And it is. So, some move through life seemingly perfectly fine. They smile and laugh. They might have nice houses, great families, supportive friends. My dad and I are great examples of opposites battling the same thoughts. We can be all of these positive things and also be dealing with the negative thoughts that are so painful to carry that it feels like the only way to stop the thoughts is to not be alive. What doesn't get to be present enough is knowing for a fact that we deserve beautiful things. We deserve miracles. We deserve to be loved in every way we only ever dreamed we could be. We deserve everything we have. We deserve everything we've been working for and waited for. We deserve a good life. You are worthy. If you're struggling or know anyone that's struggling, please reach out. I know everything in you might be telling you to do the opposite, but I swear with every single fiber in my body that there is a life worth living. And that life, those days, rain or shine, they include you, and they always will.